His fingers froze around the coffee cup the moment she said it. The restaurant noise faded, the soft music disappeared, and all he could hear was the echo of her quiet words. "You don't remember me." His heart didn't just skip a beat, it stopped, as if the past had reached across time and wrapped a cold hand around his throat. Before we go any further, if you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in the idea that no one is beyond redemption, take a moment to like this video, comment your thoughts, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to Ripple of Kindness. Stories like this remind us that life can surprise us in the most unexpected ways. Daniel had not been on a date in 5 years. 5 long, exhausting, beautiful years since his wife passed away, leaving him alone with a 2-year-old daughter and a grief so heavy it felt permanent. He had buried himself in fatherhood. He learned how to braid hair by watching online tutorials at midnight. He packed school lunches with little notes tucked inside. He became both the steady hand and the soft shoulder. To the world, he was the strong single dad who never complained. But inside, loneliness lived quietly in the corners of his tidy home. His sister had arranged the blind date, insisting he deserved companionship. He almost canceled 3 times that day. Guilt gnawed at him, guilt for even considering moving forward, guilt for feeling something other than grief. But eventually, he convinced himself that meeting someone for dinner wasn't betrayal, it was survival. When she walked in, he noticed her immediately. There was something steady about her, something familiar though he couldn't place it. She wore a simple red dress and carried herself with calm confidence. She smiled when she saw him, not nervously like most blind dates, but knowingly. They sat down, ordered coffee, and exchanged the polite details strangers share. She asked about his daughter with a softness that felt almost personal. He spoke about the challenges of bedtime tears and the small victories of school recitals. For the first time in years, he felt seen not as a widower, but as a man. Then she tilted her head slightly and studied him in a way that made his chest tighten. That was when she said it, "You don't remember me." Daniel searched her face again, deeper this time. The curve of her smile, the gentleness in her eyes, and suddenly a memory flickered rain against a hospital window, a crowded emergency room, his world collapsing the night his wife's heart gave out unexpectedly. He had been packing the hallway, holding his daughter, drowning in panic. A young nurse had stayed past her shift, sitting with him, bringing him water, whispering reassurances when doctors were too busy to explain. She had held his daughter so he could sign papers with shaking hands. She had been there when he received the news that shattered him. In his devastation, he hadn't remembered her face, but she had remembered his. She told him she had never forgotten that night. She said she had seen hundreds of families, but something about the way he held his little girl, like she was the only thing anchoring him to earth, had stayed with her. She had wanted to say more back then, to offer more comfort, but professionalism kept her distant. When she later saw his name again through a mutual friend, she had recognized it instantly. Daniel felt shame rush through him. While he had been consumed by grief, she had quietly carried that memory for years. He apologized for not remembering her, but she only smiled gently. She said grief changes the way the brain stores memories. She had not expected him to recall her. She just needed him to know that someone had witnessed his strength when he felt weakest. The weight inside him shifted. For years, Daniel had believed that his darkest night was defined only by loss. But now he realized someone else had seen something different that night. Not just tragedy, but love. Not just collapse, but courage. It was the first time he considered that maybe he had been more than broken. Their conversation deepened. She told him about becoming a nurse because she believed moments of crisis reveal who we truly are. He told her about the quiet fears he carried as a single father, the fear of failing his daughter, the fear of loving again, the fear that moving forward meant leaving the past behind. She listened without judgment. She didn't try to fix him. She simply understood. Over the next weeks, they met again, this time not as strangers but as two people connected by an invisible thread from years ago. Daniel struggled internally. Each laugh they shared felt like both healing and betrayal. Every time he thought about introducing her to his daughter, anxiety crept in. What if it didn't work? What if he reopened wounds for everyone? But change often arrives disguised as fear. One evening, as he tucked his daughter into bed, she looked up at him with innocent curiosity and asked why he smiled more lately. Children notice everything. He realized then that love doesn't replace what was lost. It expands the heart to hold more. His late wife would never disappear from his story. She was written into every chapter, but perhaps a new chapter could begin without erasing the old ones. The first time the nurse, her name was Elena, met his daughter, Daniel held his breath. Instead of awkwardness, there was warmth. Elena knelt to her level, speaking softly, asking about her drawings, praising her bravery for sleeping with the lights off. Daniel watched something extraordinary unfold. It wasn't dramatic or loud. It was gentle and steady, like sunrise after a long night. He began to understand that second chances are not about forgetting. They are about remembering differently. Remembering pain, but also remembering resilience. Remembering loss, but also remembering that the heart is built to heal. Months later, Daniel returned to the same restaurant where it had all begun. The same table, the same quiet lighting. This time there was no fear in his chest, only gratitude. He thanked Elena for reminding him of a version of himself he had forgotten, the father who stood tall in the storm, even when he thought he was drowning. If this story has touched your heart so far, take a moment to comment the word hope below. Let's fill the comments with reminders that no one walks alone through their darkest hours. Life rarely gives us dramatic signs or loud miracles. Sometimes, it simply brings someone back into our lives who once saw us at our worst and still believed we were strong. Daniel's heart had stopped when she said he didn't remember her, but in truth, that moment restarted it. And before this story ends, I want to ask you something from the heart. If this journey of grief, courage, and second chances moved you even a little, please like this video, share it with someone who needs reassurance tonight, and subscribe to Ripple of Kindness. Your support keeps these stories alive and spreading light. Because sometimes, the person who changes your life isn't a stranger at all. Sometimes, they are someone who saw you broken and never stopped believing you could heal.